Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie, and today I'm sharing with you how I make my mince pies. These mince pies are always so popular. I've had incredible feedback over the years from them. The recipe is in my Christmas recipe planner, which looks like this and is available on my website. But I'm going to share the recipe with you today and show you exactly how I make them. Now, these mince pies aren't the most beautiful. They're not picture perfect, but the taste, the flavour, I believe is second to none. I would love your feedback if you make them. Let me know in the comments. But for now, we're going to get going. And I'm also going to show you a cheap way to do your pastry super quickly, because this time of year is crazy busy, and if we can cut corners, then that's what we need to do. So let's get cooking. So the first thing that we're going to do is our orange. Now, these mince pies have a little twist. In fact, they've got a couple of twists. The first twist is orange zest and orange juice. So I'm just going to quickly zest my orange. Make sure you turn it and you just take the top layer off, otherwise the white pith is bitter and we don't want that. So just zest your orange, just pop the zest to one side, slice your orange in half and squeeze out the juice. So my way of cheating is by using my Magimix. So I'm going to tip in 500 grams of plain flour. And I make a lot of mince pies each year, and I had to work out how to cut corners because I would be doing this by hand, which if you don't have a Magimix, you can totally do by hand. It actually works better. Then my butter I have cubed up cold, straight from the fridge, really important. Add that in, and then I'm just going to weigh out, use this bowl, my sugar, 175 grams of caster sugar. Now, don't forget to add that orange zest in. The sugar and the orange juice. Now, it was quite a large orange. I'm going to add 2/3 and just keep a little bit back. I might not need it all. You don't want your pastry to be too wet, so we will see if we need to add that in. Pop the lid on. Now, it's really important that you don't overwork it, so you just want to quickly combine it. Don't leave it on, walk off, disappear and come back, because your pastry needs to be quite light, and if you overwork it, it won't be. It's looking quite dry, so I'm going to add the rest of the orange juice in. And that is as much as it needs. It helps being agile trying to get the bowl out of the top of the cupboard. Right, I should have had that waiting in the wings. So make sure you don't overwork the pastry. It's going to look still pretty dry. That's okay. Tip it into a large bowl. And then we want to not overwork it, but squidge it into a ball. And this is our orange pastry. And it will all, sticking to my hands, it will all come together nicely. Now you can see it's come together in a ball, and I'm going to wrap this ball in cling film and place it in the fridge and leave it for a minimum of 30 minutes. It needs to rest and do its thing. My pastry has been in the fridge resting for a few hours. We've actually been out doing horsey things, and I've come in and it's time to make our mince pies. So I need a big, that will do. The knife I was looking for is actually in the dishwasher from lunch. So unwrap your pastry, and I'm actually going to just cut it into half. In fact, maybe even slightly smaller than a half. Now the good thing about this is it will keep in the fridge for about 5 days like this. So you don't have to make them all in one go, and you can also freeze it. So I'm going to wrap that back up, pop it back in the fridge, because you don't want it to get too warm and too soft. I would rather work with smaller amounts. Now I am going to get my secret ingredients ready. So Philadelphia, and again, I'm not going to make the whole amount as on the recipe in one go, because I'm probably just going to make this amount of mince pies for now and then make some more fresh later on. So I've just popped some of my Philadelphia in there and my sugar. Because I've made this so many times, I know the kind of ratios, so I'm not weighing it out. I'm doing it by eye, but you can make this in advance, and again, it will keep in the fridge. I have somebody in my family that's rather partial to this, so if it gets left in the fridge, it might get gobbled up. So mix that in, the sugar into the Philadelphia till it's smooth and lovely and delicious, and just pop that to one side. I'm going to use a little icing sugar to roll out my pastry. And waiting in the wings here is my tin. This was my mother's. It's old, it's much loved. I love using it to make mince pies. Now I have just put some butter onto a bit of kitchen roll, softened butter, and spread it around, and that tin is ready to go. I have got a regular one, but I prefer using Mum's tins. And we do actually have a step that says, you probably can't read it in this light, it says naughty. I never actually put my children on the naughty step, but it was quite fun to have a naughty step in the kitchen, and I might stand on it to roll out, because with my board on top of my worktop, it's quite high, and I like to roll from above and do it this way. I just find it better on my back. I could put this on the kitchen table and do it like that, which would be perfect, but for filming, this is how we're doing it. Make sure you keep your rolling pin. You can use flour. I just tend to use icing for my mince pies. Now be careful that your pastry doesn't stick to your board, so you might need to carefully, she says, and mine is sticking. It's not the easiest pastry to work with, but trust me, once you've tasted it, you will understand why it's so utterly, utterly delicious. But it's a little bit of a fiddle and a faff. Now, don't roll it out crazy thin either. Sorry, I've got Tess isn't settling. Don't know why. I think it's because we had meat for lunch, and she's hoping that there might be some leftovers for her. There's not. She's completely blind, but her nose is jolly good. She's just at my feet thinking that I'm going to give her some tasty morsel, which I'm sorry, my darling girl, isn't the case. So I think that's probably thin enough. Can you see all right? Let's move these out of the way. Right, 2 pastry cutters, different sizes, a slightly smaller one and a slightly bigger one. This is our bottom, that's our top. And obviously we have got 12 holes that we need to cut out. So I'm just going to carefully pop it. Make sure you have greased your tray and just gently poke it down. Now I've got my bottoms cut out and I'm going to just cut as many tops as I can from this bit of pastry. And when you're cutting out your pastry, make sure that you use the space wisely so you can get as many out in one go. And if anything sticks, you can gently loosen it with that. And you can just roll the pastry back together. Again, don't play with it, don't overwork it. If it gets too warm, you can always pop it in the fridge, which actually I'm going to do that with that. Let's just pop it in. I'll use one of these bowls. Just pop it in the fridge just to let it cool before rolling it out again. Now don't overfill your mince pies with mincemeat. My mincemeat recipe I actually shared with my members club last year, but you can use any good quality mincemeat. And just put about a teaspoon of mincemeat in the middle of each one. If you overfill your mince pies, it will start bursting out of the sides. You don't want them to be too skimpy, but you don't want them to be too full. I'll show you what my tray looks like in a moment. So looking like that, and then we go in with this. So delicious. And just put a small amount, so half a teaspoon on the top of each one. Now it's time to add our lids. I do need to roll out a few more, but I'm just going to add these ones. So I've got a little milk in my mug and I'm just putting a little just on the rim of my mince pies, just the ones that I'm putting the lids on to start with, and then I'll add more milk just before I put them on. And then just place your lid gently on top. Use light fingers. You don't want to squash it down and squash it into the tin too much. Just light fingers, just tap, tap, tap. My grandmother on my dad's side always taught me, I did a lot of baking and cookery with her, always taught me to have light fingers whilst cooking. She was a really lovely lady. I went the wrong way, I miscounted. Silly me. Right, I'm just going to roll out a little bit more pastry and finish those off. In fact, I'm going to grease another tray and do another tray full at the same time. So I've just done the lids for these ones and I need my sharp little knife. Now, the secret is to make a little air hole. So I do a cross in the top of each one, like that. And then brush the top very lightly with just a little milk, not too much. And this just gives them a lovely glazed finish. You see. And that tray is ready to go into the oven. Now you want to put them into a hot oven. Fan oven 220 20, but make sure they don't burn. I'm going to use the roasting oven of my Aga, and I'm going to put the plain cold sheet over the top for the first probably 10 minutes, and then I'm going to slide the plain cold sheet out and just let them brown slightly on the top. So if you're using an Aga, put them in the centre of the Aga. And this is my plain cold sheet. It deflects the heat from the top and it stops the top browning. But it's very important that you don't keep it in the Aga. It wants to be cold. That's why it's called a plain cold sheet. It's in the name. So don't leave it in your Aga. I'm just going to make another batch and make sure that I remember to set a timer. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn you off because otherwise I'm going to set all of yours off as well, but I'll be back with you. So I ended up using all the pastry, and actually I've managed to make 3 batches. Oh, Alexa, stop. Let me just check on them. So those are looking good, but they probably need another 2 or 3 minutes. Alexa, set the timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, starting now.
I thought, you know what, while I'm doing them, let's just use up all the pastry, because they'll keep in a tin, an airtight container, for a good 5 or 6 days, and you can also freeze them. And I think actually, suddenly thought, well, I'm going to the effort to make them, let's just do it all. But you can keep the piece of pastry in the fridge and do a couple of batches and do them fresh. Personal preference, but I thought, why not just get it all done. Now, for next week's video, I'm actually going to do a Q&A. Simon's cousin has really sadly died, and we're going to his funeral. So I thought, rather than not putting out a video, I would do a Q&A and record it ahead of time. So ask me your Christmassy questions. I love doing a Q&A with you guys. So ask away. Now is your opportunity, and that is going to come for you next Tuesday. But I'm going to check on these, and hopefully they're almost ready. And there are my mince pies. I could leave them in for a minute longer, but the edges on these ones just beginning to catch, so I thought I would take them out. They have been in for 17 minutes, and I'm just going to pop this batch in there as well. Get those done. Now, I leave them to cool before trying to get them out, because if you were to take them out now, they would all come to pieces. So leave them to cool in a tin, and then not till they're cold, just till they're still slightly warm, and then I use a knife just to lever around to take them out. Now, I'm going to link these. I think they're called hob bar boards. I've spoken to the team at EvoTop, and EvoTop did my kitchen worktop, and I've got a hob bar board, and I also have a chopping board, and I'm going to talk to them about a couple more chopping boards. Chopping boards over there. Hang on, let me show you. I really like working on this. It's really, really great. But the hob bar board is linked on their website, so you can get one. I often get questions about them. They're really useful if you can't put hot things straight onto your worktop, and I think they look really attractive as well. I will just give you another look. There they are. So, and these come out, so really easy to keep clean and what have you. They are quite expensive. They're expensive because of the metal rods, but they are definitely a really, really useful bit of kit. So I'm just going to leave those to cool for a little while, girls. Be quiet, and I'll be back with you to take them out of the tin. Right, when they have cooled a little, I think that's probably enough. Have a wire rack waiting beside and just carefully loosen them and quake them out and place them onto a tray. This is why you want to butter them or grease the tray, and they normally come out relatively easily, she says, but you might just need to loosen them carefully with a knife. That one is being a little tricky, so I'm going to come back to it. And you can kind of feel if they're loose enough to carefully lift out. You see this one, I don't know what it is about my agar, it always catches slightly on that side, but you can just trim off if yours does the same thing. You can just shave that little bit off. As I said at the beginning, they are the tastiest of mince pies, but aesthetically not so beautiful. But I tell you what, well, you make them, you try them, and you let me know what you think, because I think that they are absolutely delicious. So I'm going to have a taste. Oh, wow, that's so good. I think they just melt in your mouth. That is scrumptious. Right, let's get the rest of these out. And there is my last batch of mince pies cooling. I had a little taste, but this one I've kept aside to sample properly. I cannot wait. My first homemade mince pie of 2024. I'm lost for words. So delicious. Wow. Scrummy, scrummy, scrummy. I hope that you've enjoyed that. I hope you give making them a go, because they are super, super delicious. Maybe a little bit more of a faff than other recipes, but I think absolutely worth it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to ask me your questions, and I will see you again soon with a new episode of Vlogmas. And in the meantime, lots of love.